Inspired by board games such as Dominion and Ascension, a deck builder is a game where the player develops their deck over the course of the adventure, instead of the traditional method where predetermined cards available from the beginning of the game are used throughout. Some stick to the formula that inspired them, while others take what came before and put their own twist on it. So, we're here to answer, what are the best deck building games of late? Welcome to Game Rant, everyone! I'm Bilal, and here are the top 5 recent deck building games. Starting the countdown off with Hadian Tactics. In this game, the player's cards act more like buffs and curses. After the available energy is spent on whichever cards are drawn, control is relinquished momentarily as the party clashes with the enemies on the field. Time passes before the game pauses again, and that precious energy is restored alongside a newly assigned hand of cards. It's all about understanding the needs of the party after every round of fighting. The more passive role the player takes really helps the game to stand out among its peers while still being an engaging experience. Taking 4th place, we have Griftlands. Griftlands reinvents the deck builder genre. It's narrative-driven for one thing, with 3 unique characters and their respective campaigns. This game also boasts 2 separate battle systems driven by their own decks, combat, and negotiation. To upgrade cards, the player must use them in battle. They will then be able to choose the upgrade the card takes on. Managing relationships also affects gameplay, as people's opinions of the main character will grant the protagonist buffs and debuffs, as will the graphs. Next up, Monster Train. In Monster Train, the objective is to aid demonic forces in their train-bound quest to reignite the flames that powers the underworld. There are 2 distinct card types to play: monster cards and action cards. Monsters are the first line of defense in stopping the force of good moving up the train and attacking its power source. Action cards, meanwhile, affect enemies and allies. This game forces the player to push their synergies to the extreme as they develop their deck against an onslaught of increasingly difficult fights. It's brash and brilliant, and genre fans should not miss it. At 2nd place, we have Inscription. Inscription might fall within the genre in the grand scheme of things, but the game is nothing like most of its contemporaries. For one, it leans into horror territory, something that very few card-based games attempt to do. Inscription traps players in a life or death situation where they have to play a card game against a mysterious opponent, and that is only one part of this overall weird but unforgettable experience. While the roguelike deck building element is executed well without being all that innovative, the overall package defines Inscription's brilliance. And taking the number 1 spot, Slay the Spire. The current surge in popularity of deck builders owes much to Slay the Spire. It's still a genre highlight, despite all that came after. Its mechanics are tight, its synergies are easy to grasp, and its characters are all distinct from one another. As with most examples of the ever-addictive roguelike genre, games are quick and extremely replayable. Every encounter is tense, and every decision the player makes will determine whether the run ends in triumph over the final boss or catastrophic defeat. And that's our rankings of the top 5 most recent deck builder games. We'll see you next time.